How does it all feel to get to the end of this record? This must be the exciting bit where you've had the mastering done, the mixes are done, the whole project is done, and now it's putting it out there. How do you feel right now?
Well, it's kind of a limbo period, which is actually filled with a lot of dread and insecurity.
Really?
Really, because I think so. Because you feel you're on the cusp, but it kind of drags out a bit, and you have a lot of time to think about whether people are going to like it or not, and you have a lot of time to get paranoid, and so it's a strange limbo period. Once it's out, it's kind of it ceases to belong to us, and it belongs to to people who like it. And also at the moment now, it's kind of like you're a little bit loath to kind of let the bird fly from the nest kind of thing.
No, and, it's mine.
Yeah, exactly. But the day will come when it ceases to be ours. But yeah, it's strange. It's strange, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not so bad, really.
Well, it is your 7th studio album, so I mean, I guess every single one is just a different chapter in your career and your sort of life as a musician as well, isn't it? So what would be the one thing that you would take from this last record and the experience of writing it and recording it and about to tour it? What would be the one thing that would first bring to your mind, do you think?
Well, I wouldn't do it the way that I wouldn't record it. I wouldn't, create this record in the way that we did it, because we did it in a sort of like in kind of a backwards way. We recorded the first half and recorded and mixed the first half, and then we went on tour.
Oh wow!
and then we had to go back and write the second half, and then record it and mix that as well. So it was quite difficult to do it that way, but it was. What had happened is that we kind of set a kind of a benchmark for ourselves, which we always had to rise to. So it was quite useful, but it wasn't particularly comfortable. But it really shouldn't be like comfortable all the time. Making a record, I don't see why it has to be that way. You should be in a position to challenge yourself, continuously during the creative process, and certainly doing it this way, that's what happened. So I mean, the result is kind of what counts, and we're very, very happy with the result. But it wasn't a breeze.
Yeah.
But that at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, the result is what matters, isn't it? And sometimes, I guess, with loads of time, I mean, I read somewhere, I think that Jack White only gives himself 2 weeks to record an album because he finds that he procrastinates too much if he has longer. But I'm so excited to hear the record. You've been very kind to give us the first play of Too Many Friends that we're going to play very shortly. And you recorded this in London, didn't you, with Adam Noble, who's worked alongside some amazing bands in his catalogue.
Yeah, I mean, he's worked with one of our favorite bands from Belgium called Deus. He goes on tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and records their live shows. But he's also worked with quite a few pop artists, including George Michael, for example.
I can't imagine you listening to George Michael, Brian. I've got to be honest.
Oh no, well, to be honest with you, I don't really. I skipped that part of Adam's back catalog. But when we made our last EP, we kind of went into the studio just to record a few tracks, and we started working on kind of half-finished songs, and it kind of felt like we were having such a good time working with Adam Noble that we kind of decided, well, it feels sort of like we started working on our album anyway, so let's just follow this where it takes us, so that's when we made the commitment, which kind of led to this process of us sort of recording, writing, and mixing the first half, and then taking a break and going on tour, and then coming back to it, because we didn't go in precisely to make a record, so we all had other commitments, life stuff to do, but yeah, it was a fantastic experience working with him. It's good to work with somebody who's younger than us. Because they're not sort of afraid to give you a kick up the backside. So, and a good producer should never be afraid of doing that.
Yeah, Absolutely. Was it nice to be recording in London for this one?
It's just really nice to be able to go home at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And have, because we spend so much time on the road with, with feelings of rootlessness and without any kind of points of reference. And, the comforts that being at home gives you, that, during the, while you're recording, to be able to go home is really quite, it cushions the blow nicely.
Oh, it's a nice way of putting it. While we're talking about the beauty of home and your own front door, I was just about to launch into your next run of live dates, which is huge, isn't it? Starting off in Warsaw.
To be honest with you, I don't think that there's a continent that we haven't been to so far.
Wow.
Maybe Antarctica.
Yeah.
But if there was an audience, we'd go there too.
Absolutely.
So we anticipate that this tour is going to take us around the world again.
Exciting times.
Well, yeah, we're breaking into it slowly with a European tour that ends before Christmas, with some a couple of dates at Brixton Academy mid-December.
Yeah, I just saw that's going to be amazing in the run-up to Christmas. And then you're calling in at the Apollo in Manchester as well, Glasgow Academy and Birmingham Academy as well. They're kind of like stalwarts, those sort of venues and cities, aren't they? Like the big deal shows. So I'm sure people are going to be so excited for that. There's a pre-sale, isn't there, as well?
There is, yeah. There is. I mean, they're great venues for rock and roll. They're not kind of sanitized, sterile boxes. Or
Thank
sheds.
God.
They are so kind of fantastic places for a rock band to play. So we're very happy to go back. Particularly for me, that Brixton Academy holds a very a very important place in my heart, because it's where I saw all of my favorite bands play in the 90s, like Sonic Youth and PJ Harvey and Pavement.
Wow.
When I was going to college in Southeast London, so I'd always make the pilgrimage to Brixton to see these bands. So playing there is always a special occasion for me.
Yeah, I bet that's amazing. Can you tell us a bit about the sound of this next album? Because obviously I haven't heard it yet because it's all been embargoed. So can you tell it? Is there anything spectacularly different on this album from the last? I'm sure it's still the key signature, beautiful Placebo sound, but is there anything that you've brought in that's a new kind of slant or a tilt to the sound?
Oh, well, it's difficult to say for me, I guess, because I still feel really, really close to it.
Yeah.
It's a very eclectic record, and what I'm calling side B of the vinyl, because I'm old. The second half of the record. The songs are quite long for Placebo. Normally we don't really write songs that are over 4 minutes. We've got a few which are 6-7 minutes kind of thing. So that's just where the songwriting was taking us and where the emotion was kind of taking us. So I think every time you make a record, it can be a reaction against the previous one. So the Battle for the Sun was, I think, quite a full-on guitar record, and this one has, a bit more of an eclectic sound. There's a lot of piano on this record, which you'll hear, which is the instrument that starts Too Many Friends. And
is that you playing the piano, Brian?
No, I'm not. I'm not fantastic at the piano. I kind of play one-finger keyboards. Stefan's a very, very good piano player, so I leave all the difficult stuff to him.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose this is the first album where we started, plugging our iPads and our iPhones into the desk, and just embracing that that new aspect of technology, and just getting really crazy sounds that that we didn't have access to before, and so that was really fun.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's opening another door, isn't it? This technology where you can just quickly send voice memos to each other and go, I've had an idea for that, and suddenly it's in your inbox, within 30 seconds. And I guess it must be so interesting to have such a long career like yourself, to see how things change and how they mould and how it affects, the output of what you're doing. It's interesting stuff.
When we did our first album, when we were recording our first album, we didn't have Pro Tools, and we were still doing edits with a razor and tape.
Yeah.
And that used to make me very, very, very nervous. because there's no undo button.
Right.
And once you cut that tape, that was that. But times have changed now. I found something else to be nervous about.
We're going to play the single off the back of this interview, Too Many Friends. So just, from the three words themselves, is that just literally saying you can have too many friends? I mean, lyrically, is that the point which you're going out, as in you can count your best friends on one hand, or is there more to it than that?
Well, it's actually, I mean, it asks the question as to whether or not all of this technology that, massive corporations and conglomerates are offering us, and all this interconnectivity that's supposed to bring us closer together, it's just asking whether it actually is doing that, or if it's breeding a new form of social alienation. I mean, it came out of a couple of friends of mine. I don't social network at all. But a couple of friends of mine stopped taking friends on their social networking sites because, and I quote, they had too many friends. Yeah. And it just occurred to me, that's such a strange thing. How can you have too many friends? I have 3. How can you have, too many? Yeah. And it just got me thinking about people sitting in a room, not looking at each other, and looking into a phone all the time.
It's terrifying.
And how all of this technology, which is supposed to bring us closer, is perhaps affecting our skills, our social skills, and making it more difficult for us to communicate in the real physical world. Because we have to take a risk, because we have to make ourselves vulnerable. In the virtual world, you don't have to do that because you've got a computer to hide behind.
True.
So I wonder what kind of human all of this technology is turning us into, and whether it actually is freedom or a massive trap. I'm not offering any answers to it, but that's kind of the question that the song is asking.
So no, I love that as a subject for the single. That's a really interesting topic as well.
And I still try and have a conversation in the physical world, so as much as possible. So it was just an interesting thing for me to explore.
No, definitely. Well, thank you very much for your time for the conversation this afternoon. And I'm going to post up the links to all the tour dates for everybody. We're going to play the new single now, and we look forward to seeing you at Brixton Academy on Monday the 16th of December. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.